Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of B2B Live. I am very, very excited for today because this is for all things personal as well as professional, more so as well for your teams. Or you can actually use it in your home. My guest today, Melissa DeCastro, surprised me when I had an event in January when she, with her talk. She was one of our very special speakers, and she spoke on habit stacking, and I thought, why not? Let's get Melissa on here so you guys can learn one all the things that you need to know about habit stacking. Two, get a blueprint so you could start implementing it right now in your daily lives and within your teams. And three, more importantly, out of all of that, start getting the results that you're looking for. Yes, today's session is about results. Well, every session is about results, but the best thing about today is you can start today and you will start noticing the impact of habit stacking within a very short period of time. So, without further ado, Melissa, welcome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome, and thanks so much for being on. I want you to share with the audience who
Hmm.
you are, who you serve, and how you are positively influencing others.
That's a great question. I was thinking about this before I started. How am I going to share this? Because I'm pretty multifaceted in what I do. Um, so it all started with me supporting early childhood educators. I would go into the childcare centers, help them with their pedagogy, the practice, and all that. But then it started to pivot where educators were asking me, how do you work out? How do you have all this energy? You're 40. How are you doing all this? Because my main audience tends to be individuals that are in their 20s and 30s when they're working in childcare center, and they're just like, how have you become like this? And I said, well, it took time, and it took implementing small little habits to get to where I am now. So when I would be sharing pedagogy support or doing workshops on early childhood education, I started to pivot where people are asking me questions like this. Then I start to insert my certification in wellness. So I am certified as a health coach, and I start to blend both of them together. So I was taking the individual that was an EC, but now seeing them as a person outside of their work. So what I'm going to share right now are tools and tips that you can do. Doesn't matter if you're an EC or not, but you can implement into your life that will support you in your everyday job, or if you're a mom, a father, or whatnot. So that's what I do. I do workshops for individuals in that sense. Like I'll do one-to-one, I'll do group settings. I will speak for educators within the Peel region specifically. But I always tend to bring habit stacking into it because it helps you in the classroom, it helps you outside of work. And it just makes you more of a happier person. I feel like you just feel more accomplished. Yeah, so
I
that's what I do.
absolutely love it. For everyone that is tuning in across all of the various platforms, one, thank you. I see about 33, a little bit over 30 of you on here. Ask questions, put in the comment if you um, use habit stacking in your life and actually influence your teams with habit stacking, or you actually influence your home, the members of your home with habit stacking. Please let us know. Ask some questions because that's why we are here. I wanted to ask you, what
Mhm.
is habit stacking?
Mhm.
What is it? Please share the basic
So
fundamentals.
Okay, so habit stacking, basically it's taking micro little behavior changes and you stack it onto a current habit. So today is the 19th. Many of us came into the new year with New Year's resolutions or goals that we wanted to work on. And often these goals are really grand and we start really strong, like the momentum is there, the motivation is there, but then slowly the motivation just starts to creep away. Not for all of us, but most of us. And it's usually because the goal is just, it's too big. It's too much to start. It's too much to implement into your life right away. And usually we get tired, decision fatigue. We just give up afterwards. So with habit stacking, It's just small little habits that you insert onto habits that you're already doing. So for instance, I like to use the coffee analogy. If you want to drink more water, if you struggle with drinking water and that's something that you want to do, you just want to implement drinking more water into your day, start off with 1 cup of water. Don't go in thinking you're going to drink 2 gallons or a gallon of water a day or a huge liter or anything like that. Start with just 1 cup or like a mason jar, and you put it in front of your coffee in the morning, your coffee maker. So it's like a trigger. It reminds you, okay, I got to drink this cup of water as the coffee is being made. See what I mean? It's like little micro habits that you insert into things that you do all the time. Let's say you want to read more. I find that as we get older, there's something in us that we want to read more. It's really good for our brain. It's really simple to say, I want to read more, but how are you going to implement that? So you take, let's say at the end of the day, before you plug in your phone, read 5 pages, then plug your phone in, or plug in your phone, read 5 pages, then go to sleep. So it's taking those anchor habits that you do every single day, and only you know what they are. It's very bio-individual to that particular person. It depends on your routine. Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Do you have a break in the afternoon? It just depends on the individual. And then you stack tiny little micro habits onto your anchor habit, which is what you do every day. And slowly those little micro habits will support the big goal. So if the big goal is, I want to drink more water, how much, X amount, then you start with the 1 cup, and then you start anchoring that little cup again to the afternoon coffee or whatever it is, before you drink your meal. Before you eat your meal, drink a glass of water. But it's things like that that will lead to success, because often we try to do too much right at once, and then we get tired and we stop. But if we do small little micro habits and we anchor them onto a behavior that we're doing every day, it will get you that pendulum swinging to where you want to be.
When you're speaking of this, my mind went straight to the roots of a tree, because you used the word anchor, right? Or the anchor on a ship, right? When you need something to like hold. And I just thought to myself, wow, so let's say I want to drink more water. Don't feel like I need the 2 gallon, because they have sometimes 2 gallons, 3 gallons, these huge bottles, and people sometimes are walking around with it to remind them to drink, and it gets heavy and such. And that's great, like if you have to take it maybe to the gym or wherever, but start off with anchoring, with rooting your need to drink more water, and of course more, I guess, finding this love for water by, starting off, you have a glass of water in front of your coffee machine. Okay, you're going to drink some. You're eating before you even take a bite. Drink your glass of water.
Because it's that reward. It's that reward system. You will feel better over time by drinking that water, and because you feel better, you will continue, and then you'll start inserting the extra amount of water. Sometimes if we drink too much at once, we're constantly going to the bathroom, we start feeling like it's a chore, and we're like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, and so we stop. It's the same with exercising. Sometimes people decide that they just want to do 45 minutes right from the get-go. That might be too much. It might be realistic for maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, but then we're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But if we start with just maybe 15 minutes 3 times a week, or every day, if you feel like it and you can, then you'll feel that dopamine hit. You start to feel great. Then you'll want to insert maybe another 15 minutes to 30 minutes, or just leave it at that. And that's okay. That is success right there. If you're able to continue for 18 days, 60 days, 90 days, because eventually over time, and it might take up to 200 days. Some people are more resistant to change. Some people are quicker to change. So some people might find that they, create that habit, becomes second nature to them sooner than 90 days. It might be 18 days. It might be 60 days, but it can take up to 200 days, if not longer. So it's just, you know how quick you are to change. So that's why it's just better to start small, stay consistent, and then stack it, make it a bigger goal, a harder habit. Once you become, consistent with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you. If you have a question, please put it in the comments. Melissa will answer right away in real time, as well as if you have a comment, maybe you use this, let us know. We want to hear your thoughts, how this is working for you. You talked about, I'm just looking at my notes here, Melissa. You spoke about combining and like the small habits, building on the small habits. And for me, that sounds like compounded interest. Right? It's like it's in the bank, right? You invest in something and it compounds over 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, wherever. And so is that similar in that sense? Like when we start building on these little habits, we are essentially compounding it and it's growing.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about something that happened the other day. I was talking to a group of women about habit stacking, and, you know, we go on Instagram, we see a bunch of influencers doing, you know, the mouth tape, they're scraping their tongue, they're drinking the water, they're exercising, they're eating as clean as possible according to their own needs. And people get very overwhelmed. So when you're talking about compounding, is that these individuals that are doing this, even myself, I've worked slowly. Like I mouth tape before I go to bed. I do all these things, but I didn't do this, you know, a year ago. It's slowly, it's taking that one little thing, like I said, and compounding it, just as you mentioned, right? So when I was speaking to those women, they're like, we get so overwhelmed. We go on Instagram, we go on YouTube, we go on TikTok, and there's just so much for us to do. You know, there's a new trend all the time and we get really overwhelmed. And then that's when decision fatigue happens and you're just like, I do nothing. So I'm like, so you gotta quiet that noise. You gotta quiet that noise, take one little goal at a time, right? And that's the thing. And then slowly, like I said, once you've established this, maybe you could do 2 little micro habits, add them on, because you start to feel great. And then the reason why I share this, especially with educators, is that many times we think that it's our job, that we're not happy. We're not happy in the classroom setting, or we're not happy at the office, but it's not that at times. It's that we're not feeling fulfilled outside of work. And there's certain things that we should try to do in order to show up as our best self. And it might be drinking water, it might be eating a certain way, so we have more energy throughout the day. So you're not having that 2 o'clock crash. But there's things that maybe you should try doing in the morning, like eating a little bit more protein, right? Making your environment successful. So if your goal is to eat more protein, so you have more energy during the day, then ensure that your fridge is stocked up with certain things in order for you to make those better choices. So you're not going through Tim Hortons and grabbing the muffin, which will give you that sugar spike, but then in the afternoon, you're crashing, right? So then all of a sudden you feel defeated. You feel like, oh crap, I did not meet that goal, or like, but it's not you, it's the system. It's your system is not being put in place properly, which is maybe your fridge wasn't stocked up, or you didn't wake up extra 15 minutes early to give yourself time, right? So it's not you, you're not failing. It's the system that you put in place is failing you.
Before we move on, I want to stick with the fundamentals here. I want to stick with the habit stacking, and I want to apply it to teams. There are many professionals who are on here. We all have families. We're all doing all our own things. And they might say, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing the habit stacking stuff. It's working for me. I'm feeling better. I'm doing the things that I need to do. How can I teach my team to do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was actually reading about that. And when I took my certification, they said you have to lead. Sometimes, you know, I can tell you everything. I can share whatever it is I'm doing, but that might not work. They're not ready for it. So you have to lead by example. And I find that really works when you're working with a team. You know, like if I'm working with individuals, or I used to own my own childcare center at one point, it's like you need to lead by example, and then eventually those will come. They will follow you if they're interested, but most people won't do it unless they're ready. So sometimes we just have to give them time, and when they're ready, they will start it. But it's like maybe even just having this conversation with them. It's like, you know, this is what I'm doing. It's working. And then if they're curious, they're going to ask more questions and then lead the way.
Yeah. And
I know it's hard. it's really hard, but it's just like, it goes back to how resistant are you? Do you
Mhm.
want to change? Many people
Yep.
say they want to change, but they're not ready to change. And I see that even with my own family. Like, my dad has severe health issues, so does my mom. And that's probably why, that's part of the reason why I chose to go this journey, right? Like, I found myself years ago not in the greatest place, but I realized that it's up to me to change. No one's going to come and save you. There's a whole bunch of people that might want to support me, but I have to do the work, right? So when you have a team and you're the leader, you want to be that example, you want to be that light for them. But at the end of the day, they're the ones that need to want to put in the work. They're the ones that are going to have to work, wake up 15 minutes earlier, maybe, do a little workout, whatever it is, read some sort of motivational quote or a passage from the book or meditation or prayer, or whatever it is that you need in order to feel grounded, in order to go to work. But they're the ones that are going to have to do it. It's the same with your children. We can give them all the tools, but at the end of the day, it's up to them, especially when I have teenagers, especially once they're teenagers. It's like, you could pave the way, but it's up to them to make those choices when you're not around. Right.
Mhm.
So I hope that made sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it makes sense. It makes sense with that. And that's what a lot of people do. There was a time when the cold plunge was a big thing and it was all
Yeah.
over and people were doing it. And so they were following and started incorporating it into their routine. So I was using that. What I want people to, I don't want you guys to miss this because what Melissa just said is very important. And you can apply it strategically in your environment, in your workspace. So one, yes, you members of your team will be looking to you and they're seeing your habits, they're seeing what you're doing. Because they'll ask questions, right? You guys are all having conversations. The other piece is when you want to create habit stacking so that they can become high performing in there, they have the individual component, and most of your team members generally, depending on where you guys at and what type of team you build, you will see the results when it comes to their work and habit stacking on their work. Take a minute and look, where are they now at point A to where do they want to be within the year. So this is why when you have your yearly or quarterly or every 3 months, yeah, so quarterly or seasonal talks and conversations, this is when they're going to set their goals that they have. And then this is an opportunity to figure out, okay, if Melissa wants to, I don't know, to just grow. Maybe she just wants to grow in her role because she's brand new in her role at in your department or at the office. What does Melissa need to do to grow? 10%, 20%, 15%, 100%, and then go back, reverse engineer it, and then you start at the beginning. Okay, so let's say she wants to grow 50%. Well, what is it going to take for her to get there? Right? And then you work with her together in that. And you guys kind of break down that goal. And that's where, okay, is there training that's needed? What type of training? When is it going to happen so that they can get to that, Melissa can get to that 50%. So that can be applied in your work environment in that degree. But at the same time, as was mentioned, they have to be able to do the work. So this is why it's important to have the conversations. So yes, on an individual level, on a personal level, you're doing the things to get you to be high performing, right? Um, to to unlock the secrets to a more productive you, to a more happier and healthier you. And you can take that and apply those same methods, these fundamentals, this blueprint that she's going to be sharing a bit more of as we continue our conversation, and now start injecting it into your team, right? Injecting. What does this person need? Where are they going? Why are they going? And you're doing it together. And as they start seeing the steps, what they start doing now is, okay, I got to start taking these actionable steps, but they also know that they're supported. And for me personally, I've seen like that has worked I didn't know it was called habit stacking at the time, but I've seen it work for myself, and I've also seen it work for my team, specifically with the military. What do you need? Where? How can I be of support to you? Where are you going? Right? And don't get a lot of people I realize you get caught up in thinking, well, if I do this, then this, right? We always get into this, then that, or you do this, well, I'll do like we're always in this reaction, reaction mode. I hope I'm saying it right. In this reaction mode or reactive way, in thinking I need to get something from. No, no, you're doing it because ultimately you're there to grow, you're there to evolve, you're there to give better service, and so on and so forth. But don't think, oh, this I'm going to get hurt if someone's going to leave if they grow, if they learn, if they're expanding in their space, right? In their vision. No, it's a good thing. You want that because this is how you make allies. And I really wanted to expand in that sense. And I really want you guys to grasp that concept of how you can use this blueprint of habit stacking in almost every single way in your life and how you can actually also pass it on to others. Because when all hell breaks loose and the chaos surrounds us, we come back to the foundation. We come back to the root um, of what we know, of where we're going, right? We come back on all these little habits that we've been putting into practice. Do you agree with that, Melissa? Or
I do. I'm thinking about it from an educator point of view when I'm in the classroom. So
yes,
it's just like if you are being more mindful on meditation or deep breathing or being able to ground yourself, it's just like
yeah,
even it's during that transition when you're transitioning the children from one space to another. It's just being able to practice those deep breaths in the moment so you can be
yeah,
more effective. So I'm thinking that maybe if you're in a workspace in the office, you get that email and you're, a little bit triggered, but it's just you've been practicing deep breaths. So now you're able to just like take a little bit of time for yourself because you recognize that taking that time for yourself makes you
yes,
calm down, feel more grounded, makes you feel better. And then you're not as reactive. You can respond to that email, or that movement is something that really helps you, think and clear your mind. You take about 5 minutes to walk around your building,
yeah,
wherever you're working, and then come back. Or on your break, if you know that your environment that you're working in is reactive or you're feeling overwhelmed, don't stay in the building during your break. Go on a walk, leave, get some fresh air, practice those habits, and then come back into the workspace.
yeah,
That's how I'm thinking about it. Even when it comes to nutrition, it's like you need to be, a high performer in your job. Then recognize that your body can be, or this is how I see it, and I'm not projecting it on anybody else, but I see your body as like maybe like a car, like the type of gasoline you put in your car is how your car is going to perform. If you take your car to get all the tune-ups and stuff like that, then your car will last longer. And I see your body as that, right? Not everybody does, but I do. So it's like, if you want to feel better, if you want to perform better, if you want to have that energy in the afternoon and not rely on coffee all the time or whatnot, then you have to fuel your body. And that is a habit, and you have to bring it into your workspace and bring the proper nutrition there in order to support. And then it goes back to, if you do it, you lead, you're going to be more of a high performer. And then all of a sudden your teammates are going to be like, what is she doing? And then, they're going to want to start doing it too. And it's just that trickle effect, right? That just ripples into your workspace, into your family, into your home or whatnot.
awesome. I love it. So, how can we create lasting habits? Share with us how to create lasting habits so that they can stick over time.
Okay, so for a habit to stick, the dopamine or reward needs to be significant enough where your brain is like, whoa, I love this. I want to continue it, right? We're, as humans, it's like you do something, you want the reward. You go to work, it's like you want the payout or you want the increase, you want the salary increase or whatever results you're looking for. Your brain is the same, right? So that's why I always say start small. But there are individuals that can take a larger goal and run with it, and the habit will stick. So Is there a goal or something or a habit that you're interested in, Delisa? Something that you are working on, and maybe I can help you with that too. So then I can help you make it stick. So maybe your audience might appreciate that as well. Is there something
Yeah.
that
Okay. I
you're
will give
curious
you
about?
something super simple. But like not super simple. Like
Let's go
it
for
might
it.
be
Yeah.
super simple for you, but for me, I'm like, so I go to the gym in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. I
Mm-hmm.
also have materials at home where I can work
Mm-hmm.
out because I am part of the online programs too as
Mm-hmm.
well. Um, in saying that, where I go to the gym, they do have the steam room. Yeah, the steam room. And every time, because I have to go early, I always have to go early because with my daughter to get her ready for her classes and stuff like that. And of course, I have to also get ready for my day. So that leaves me 2 hours. Sometimes I get up, and then of course I'm up like 4:45 because I have to do my regular stuff that I normally do. But if my prayer time or my meditation time goes over, that means there's less time in the gym. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so now my question is, I just want to give you that context so then you
Mm-hmm.
could understand. I want to spend time in the heat room, like in the sauna,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm finding it very difficult for me to do that. Um, and I'm debating, should I, and this is like something that I think about almost daily. Should I just do it after? And I'm like, no, it's too cold. Let me do it before. But then I'm like, oh, I have to go and like when I get there, I have to wet the body to go it. Like I'm so caught up in this whole system and how long it's going to take and what do I need to do and when is the best time that I don't even do it. But then I will go in the gym. And then I'm always thinking, okay, then maybe, and I bring the stuff. This is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bring the bag with the things to go in the sauna. And it feels like the biggest challenge for me.
Okay. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Um, so when it comes to habit stacking, the scientific portion of this, if you're having a hard time with implementing something, it's adding it to the transition. So we have about 30-second window before our brain tells us, no, no, we're not doing it. 30 seconds. It's this transition. It's kind of like with children, it's really important to navigate the transitions. It's the same with adults. So when you want to implement a new behavior, you want to do it during a transition window. So for you, if I'm hearing you correctly, I feel like you might be that type of individual. You got to stack it before the gym because the gym is the anchor. You are doing it.
Mm.
Okay. But because this new habit is still, you're very resistant to it, it hasn't become part of you yet, and you want to do it. And in order for you to be successful and to have that dopamine hit, which is your reward. So for you, I feel like your reward is intrinsic. It's that feeling, like you're feeling some sort of doubt because it's not happening, but you want it to happen. You don't need an extrinsic reward like a cupcake or like I'm able to watch a movie today or something like that's not what you want. It's an
Yeah.
internal feeling. So personally, if I were to make recommendations, I would tell you that it's best to do it before because you got it done with. You're going to feel happy and then you're going to work out. But maybe doing it every day might be too much because you're allocating too much time. So maybe your habit might be I'm going to the gym every day. I'm going to do the sauna or I think a steam room maybe
Yeah.
3 times a week if you're going 5 days a week, let's just say. And then once you start seeing the benefits of it, then try doing it every day.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
It's
because
that transition because you're going to tell, if you wait till after, you're going to talk yourself out. And then that 30 seconds of talking yourself out, you're already in your car.
well, yeah, because no, I go and after I finish, I wash my hands.
Yeah.
Because you're wiping things down and so I
Mm-hmm.
wash my hands and then I take a minute and then I breathe and I'm like,
See, it's that 30 seconds. You're like,
yeah,
okay, I'm done.
yeah,
It's not
exactly. That is
happening. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly what happens almost every day. And so I don't go to the gym every day. As I mentioned, sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
work out at
At
home
home.
because I have my own equipment and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Um, But yeah, I really just go, and it's so strange because when I used to do a lot more swimming,
Mhm.
I would use the steam room after I swam. It was so easy for me, but I don't know.
Maybe it's
Anyway,
'cause it's the trigger of being wet. It might be that too, because you're
oh
already wet, so you don't have to be like, oh, I gotta like
yeah,
do that, you know?
absolutely. Thank you so
Mhm.
much,
Yeah, no problem.
Medellin. Oh, beautiful name. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Thank you so much for sharing your comment. For all of you who have tuned in and stay tuned in for the last 30 minutes, we appreciate you. Thank you. Ask a question, put in the comments, let us know how we're doing. And if this topic is resonating with you, clearly it is because you guys are still tuned in and you've been holding on for 30 minutes. So we thank you for that. On the topic of creating lasting habits, what are th- what are three tips of consistency?
Mhm. You gotta decide what your goal is. What area is it? Like I always go back to working out because I feel like it's just something easy that everyone can, picture in their minds. But it could also be faith. Like I'll bring up my own little habit that I've been adding this year, and it's hard for me. It's waking up in the morning and then having like a prayer in the background as I am making my children's lunch. Right before I would listen to like a really great podcast, but because I want to incorporate a little bit more faith in back into my life,
Mhm.
that is what I'm doing. So but it's starting small. I could easily tell myself I'm going to go back to church and go every week, but I know with my schedule that is really hard with my kids, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm working towards
Mhm.
doing that. So listening to a prayer every day, the daily prayer, helps me move towards that goal. So it's starting small. First, think about the goal. Start small and try doing it every single day, attached to an anchor. And for me, it's I make lunches for my kids every single day in the morning. So I'm going to insert that into it. And then also being kind with yourself. I feel that many of us get really upset. And there's this saying that it's like, don't skip twice. So it's like if you forgot it once, that's okay. But tell yourself don't skip twice, because tomorrow's always a new day. God willing, you're going to wake up tomorrow and you have a chance to do it again. So be kind with yourself. Also, give yourself grace with where you are at currently. Like many people will watch me on Instagram or my friends or whatnot, like, and they go, how do you do all this? But like I said in the beginning of this conversation, it's taken me quite some time, a few years to get to where I'm at now, realizing that I feel best when I move my body every single day in the morning, whatever it is that I'm doing. It might be yoga, might be Pilates, might be strength training, but it's give yourself some grace, because some of us have young children. Some of us have to be at work at 7 in the morning. Some of us work a lot later, but a little bit or something is more than nothing. So if you can only work out 15 minutes, then those 15 minutes are better than nothing. If you were only able to, have that one glass of water today, in addition to what you usually consume, that is great. That's better than nothing. If you're working towards eating more protein, having that one extra egg or whatever it is, or more chickpeas or something like that, it's better than choosing to have, the muffin, let's just say. If it's mindfulness, if it's, you're really having a hard time at work, if you sat down at your computer and you took 3 deep breaths, in through your nose and out through your mouth, before you start turning on your computer, then that's one step closer towards whatever goal it is that you have. So it's being very clear on what your goal is and starting small and building up. There's this saying that motivation is kind of like that family member that only shows up during Christmas or during events and then leaves.
Yeah.
That is motivation. It's like she comes, it's like, I'm so excited, and then she's kind of gone, right? And that's where the discipline. So when you do habit stacking, you are working towards being more disciplined. That's what I try to explain to people, more disciplined. So then when it doesn't happen, the feeling inside you is like, oh, it didn't happen. And I don't feel the greatest today. So then tomorrow you will try again, because you know that you feel best or you show up at work best or within your team best by doing whatever it is that you need to be doing.
Okay, fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. We're going to move on a bit here and talk about the science of productivity and habit stacking.
Mm-hmm.
So good, so needed, especially now when everyone's talking about high performance, high productivities, and ROIs. Doesn't matter what it is in their life, it doesn't matter what job you're doing, entrepreneur, anything, wherever you are. They're all talking about productivity. And so, can you share with us um, how habit stacking reduces decision fatigue?
Um, from a personal, from like your personal, or if you were at work.
Doesn't matter, because I'm sure you could apply it, right?
Yeah.
In any
So
situation.
with habit stacking is just because you're anchoring it into something that you do every day, you no longer have to think about it because it's that transition piece. That's why we're using the anchors. So if it's, we'll go back to drinking water. If you drink coffee every day and have that cup of glass of water in front of you, it's just gonna make you drink the water. It's that trigger. If you're at work and let's say you want to accomplish something, maybe you might have like a sticky note on your laptop. So when you turn it on, it's there. It's that trigger. So you're going to do that habit. It just helps you not have to think about what you're going to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like you're anchoring it to something that you do every single day. So therefore you don't have to think about that new habit because you're piggybacking it to that habit. So if it's, you want to read more at night, it's like I said, before you plug in your phone, you're going to read 5 more pages of some sort of professional development, some sort of positive book, something that's going to make you better. So when you wake up, you can be your best self and go to work and show up and be more positive in that sense.
100%. I don't want you guys to miss what was said there because it sounds very, very simple. I know. It sounds very, very easy. I understand. And she used Melissa used the example of if you want to drink more water, you put it out there and eat before you eat, you do that. When it comes to decision fatigue, remember we are making decisions every day, all day. Some are high risk, some are low risk, some are medium risk. Some decisions is just because we get so caught up, then we become our emotions take over, and it can come out in any sort of form: anger, sadness, whatever forms. Because when it comes to the emotions, we have to master it, right? We don't want the emotions to rule us, but we definitely have to feel our emotions. And so habits taking root, right? The habits taking the root and continue to stack helps you to breed discipline. I'll say it again. The habits that take root as you stack it will breed discipline. Melissa gave us a very good example about motivation, coming to the party saying, "Hey, I'm here," and then saying, "Bye. This party is over. I'm gone. See ya." Right? And then you're left on your own. And so this is where the discipline part comes in. When it comes to your decision fatigue, as I mentioned about we're making these decisions. If you have to make high stakes decisions, it doesn't matter. The high stake decisions could be like, are we going to have steak or vegetables today? Maybe for your kids, a high stake decision could be like, is it going to be macaroni and cheese or not, or rice? I don't know, something simple. Or you can have a business and it could just be like, is this partnership going to work? Well, this is where the habit stacking comes in with your decision. So then you're not taking a very long time to decide, am I going to do it? I use myself as an example. Should I go into sauna? Should I go before? Should I go after? Can I do this? Should I do that? I already have something that I'm doing almost every day. Well, I do it every day. But then I'm like stuck in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this one part. It's already over, right? I wash my hands.
It's called a habit loop.
A habit loop.
So it's like you have the cue, the behavior, and then you have the reward. And as you were talking to Lisa, I was thinking about our phones and like as if you're an entrepreneur or you're part of a team, usually sometimes this little guy will distract you. So a really great habit that might make you be more successful within your day is having your phone somewhere else if you really need to, accomplish something. Have a sticky note on your computer reminding you that you don't want your phone near you. Put it elsewhere or put it on silent so it's not at arm's reach, so you're not tempted to go look at Instagram or tempted to go get distracted or whatnot, and then do whatever it is that you need to do, and then your reward is now you get to go on your phone.
Yeah,
right. So even just habits like that. Pardon me?
Yeah, if rewards in that sense work for you. Yeah.
Like if you're struggling with being, distracted by your phone, and I hear that often, some people, it's like, well, then don't have it at arm's reach, because then you're inclined to just grab it. But if you want to make that a lasting habit and you want to be more productive about work, then maybe it's removing whatever it is that's distracting you from your environment, because you want to be more successful. And usually you have to think about your environment in order to ensure that your new habit, the new behavior that you want to create, is successful. So it's just removing whatever it is at times from the space in order to ensure that that new habit or that new behavior is being facilitated, it's being cultivated, and all that.
I hope you guys heard what she said, because it is valuable. And do not underestimate for one single moment that those who are successful in their field, those who are successful in your industry that you look to, perhaps as a mentor, as a coach, maybe you're like, you aspire to follow their journey. When you look in and you start digging and you're reading their bios, or you even listen to them speak, they are talking about habit stacking. They may not actually use the word habit stacking, but they're telling you, I do this, I do that, I do that, and this helps me get the results that I want, right? Everything is a formula. It is a formula. And the same thing, like when I asked this question about with decision fatigue, how is habit stacking helping with the decision fatigue? Well, you start recognizing, okay, where do you want, right? Melissa mentioned the goal. This is the goal. You start reverse engineering. You take 1, 2, 3 decisions, and eventually you won't be like tired of making decisions. It becomes easy. It becomes effortless, because you took the time to do the work and started the habit stacking. So that's so very important. Look to those who you aspire to be. Look to your mentors. What are they doing? Habit stacking. And guess what book are they reading or have read? Atomic Habits. This is where it comes from, right? Well, somebody wrote it down. You took the time to write down this stuff. It comes from Atomic Habits. Anyways,
I feel like that's a book that should be shared in high school, college, or whatnot. It is, if you learn at a young age, can you think about like how more successful or just more assured in yourself you might be if that's something that's introduced as one of those books that just need to be shared. I feel like the new generation of children, or like teenagers or young adults, who just come into the work field potentially with just like this energy, this ability to habit stack and like show up, as opposed to learning it often later on, once you're realizing like, I need to do more, or I want to do more without putting additional time. Like, how can I do that? And that's what habit stacking is all about, is just taking those transitions and adding it to an anchor, and then following through and doing it every single day. And when you were mentioning about all these leaders, it's so true. It's, years ago, I used to say like, how I used to love Rachel. I forgot her last name. Oh, she used to be really big in the PD world. And I used to say, how does she do this? How are people waking up earlier? Why are you exercising at this time? Why are you eating this? Why are you going into the grocery store not feeling hungry? You need to go with a full tummy, so you're not going to go pick the chips and the candy and all that stuff, right? Why are you shopping around the parameters of the store? But then it's like, once I started habit stacking, just doing those little things, I started to realize that all these high achievers, they do this so then they can show up at work and have the energy and be their best self, in order to feel better, not get decision fatigue, not potentially get brain fog, not get sick constantly, right? Like you have to take that into factor too, and just be in a great headspace in order to make all those decisions that come with owning your own business or being part of a team or whatnot. And often it's what you do outside of your workspace allows you to be your best place. But it goes back to what I was saying. It's easy for me to share this information, but you have to put in the work. You need to see the benefits. You need to start small, see the benefits, and then compound it. And eventually you will love the dopamine. You'll feel so great that you keep on going and keep on sharing, and you're that light, and other people are going to want to do it as well.
So very good. Madeline, like sounds like melody. I love it. Thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it. You said, I agree, your body and system adapts to the routine with time. I'm going to give you a quick tip before we wrap up here. And Melissa, jump in too, like if, as I'm speaking on this. There is talk of redeeming the time, of collapsing time, of restoring time. Because as we get older, we realize time is very short. We find out that, hey, I have a purpose. And sometimes that takes a long time to achieve. And there are various reasons for that. So one way to redeem the time, and when I say redeem time or collapse time, is ensuring something is sped up. Right? You need to learn something quickly in order for you to be able to implement it. And we see Jim Kiwi talks a bit about this, right? Like speed reading, he's showing all of these things. So I'm just using him as an example. When you habit stack, essentially that helps you to redeem time. And yes, in the beginning, as Melissa says, it's going to be slow at first because you're taking small little habits and you're putting it in there, right? Why? Because you have your ultimate goal, whatever it is that goal is. And then you're working towards it. Once you get to a certain space, then or level as you have evolved, then now it becomes easier for you to implement certain things, to take the action that you need without questioning, without doubting, without overthinking, without feeling like, oh, I don't know, fear and doubt coming in, right? And when you don't have any hindrance or blockages of fear, of doubt, of I'm not sure, of these decision fatigue, what end up happening is you can make speedy decisions. That means that your turnover is quick and you can see the ROI that's needed. I experience this with when I work with others sometimes, and it's not a bad thing, right? I'm thinking about my goal, whatever my goal is. And for anyone who has a team, or even if you're working by yourself, it doesn't matter. We all need help. We get help, one person, two people, 10 and 20, it doesn't matter. But if I don't see something working, that means I need to pivot, and I need to pivot quickly. And I also need to understand what is the next step that I'm going to do to be able to pivot, especially if something is not working. That means that anyone that is going to be working with me, they have to be able to pivot at the same time. They need to have that level of competence, which makes them confident, be able to do the work that they're designed to do, so that I can get the results that I need to get. I hope you guys are all following along here. In order for me to do that, I have to continuously learn. So continuous learning is a big part for me. I don't continuously learn to say I've taken a course, or I have a certification, or I have any of these things. I actually don't talk about a lot of the things that I do or share a lot of it. I do it intentionally because it's not really necessary. But when I do these things and I make these connections and I'm with my mentors, and this is, daily, right? Now, when I have to pivot or I have to make a decision because I see something not working, and I ask someone, anyone, whoever I'm working with, why isn't this working? They can't answer why it's not working, or they tell me some kind of answer of, well, I need 6 months to see results, or 2 days, or whatever. I'm like, sometimes that time frame just does not work for me. A lot can happen in 90 days. A lot can happen in 60 days. A lot can happen in 180 days. All right. Which means that the results that I want or that I need um, just doesn't factor into that time frame. So the habits that I have already stacked within myself, and in terms of my work and what I'm doing, and where we're going with the business, that makes a huge, huge difference, because there are times I'm like, this is not working. I don't like what you're saying to me right now. And I have to go right. Now, just because I don't like what you're saying, that doesn't mean it's true, but I do assess. So I don't get decision fatigue because I have to be quick witted. I have to think quickly. I have to understand all of these things, because there are decisions that come in. They're essentially, this is my livelihood. This is our livelihood. If something is not working, then we're gonna fail, right? Like I have a family to take care of, and so all of these pieces make sense. And so, because I know, for me, continuous learning, evolution, understanding my work so well, making strategic connections, and it's important. Allies, right? All of these things, you need to be. I have to be so attuned to it. Um, that I should know, okay, who can I call? What do I need to do, right? You have your SOPs essentially within yourself. And then the people that I work with, I need to make sure that they're trained up, that they are getting exactly what they need, so that when anything happens and I need to pivot, they are so confident in their competence and their abilities that they can just switch. They can move just like I'm moving. And then that means we do not get the delay. And I'm not in the thought pattern of when I'm in the gym thinking that I need to go in the sauna. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should, I can. Okay. So I hope you guys understand
Mhm.
why the habit stacking is important. I really hope you understand the a bit of the blueprint, right? She just gave 3 tips. Melissa gave 3 tips. And then, of course, you're understanding how this affects your productivity and how it affects the productivity of other people on your team that is working with you. Because there is so much that is affected by these little habits that were compounding over time, that you cannot, in some cases, being faced with fear, doubt, all the other things that stops you, really is just essentially you're wasting time. And time is so precious and it's so limited. You listen to anyone who has been there, who has done it, they're like, time, I can't get it back. So I need to I want to redeem time so I have more time. What was trying to say, how can we get more time? Anyways, that's all I got to say on that. Any thoughts, Melissa?
When you were speaking, I was just, it goes back to the fact that when you create behaviors that become part of you.
Mhm.
So these habits become your identity, and that's what ultimately you want to happen, is that all these micro habits just become who you are. You associate with those behaviors, those habits. Um, and when you were mentioning about all the decisions you have to make throughout the day and all the pivoting, it's also really important to ensure that when you come home,
Yeah.
that you're able to make a certain habit where you can like just close that off,
Mhm.
give yourself some rest. And I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, or you're a high achiever, you can work all day long and have a really great work ethics, all these habits that,
Yeah.
support you at work. But then afterwards, you eventually, just like a car, things start to slow down because you're not implementing habits at home or outside of work. And that's what I always find when I speak to individuals, is that they're not creating space for the things that make them happy. There's 12 areas in your life, and I'm not going to go into all of that, but it's not just work, it's not just finances. There's like play, there's faith, there's friends, there's relaxing, all these things. So when you're habit stacking, it's habit stacking for those areas too. Because Delisa, all those things that you were talking about that happened during the day, if you didn't prep yourself in the morning, or you weren't going to the gym or doing certain things for you, then ultimately you might not show up as your best self throughout the day and make all those decisions and pivot and all that stuff, or you will, but over time. And I've experienced that because I, wasn't aware. I had to learn. I'm the type of person, I need to like kind of experience or learn and then take the professional development and apply it. You will hit a wall eventually. You will. It's just a matter of time. Some of us might hit it sooner than others, depending on, your responsibilities at times outside of work. But it's really important that when you're at work, maybe creating the habit stack when you come home, you know what, I'm able to look at my phone until 7:30, but after that, it's done. It goes away. Now it's family time or whatever it is, or now it's time for me to rest. Now it's time for me to read or whatever it is, right? And I feel that with high achievers, especially, these are things that easily get pushed aside, and it may work when you're younger, it may work for a certain amount of time, but then once another layer of stress is added, you are not as resilient. And that's something else that I talk about with individuals too, is that I have a lot that happens outside of what people see on Instagram, but I still show up for myself because I am aware that I need to follow through with these behaviors in order to continue to be me, in order to feel fulfilled and happy at the end of the day. So if that's all your viewers leave with, it's the fact that doing these habits make you feel happier. I feel like we live in a world right now where happy is important. You need to be content with who you see in the mirror, the person that you are, the behaviors that you do and show in this world. And it's your habits at the end of the day. Like, your character is your habits.
100%, 100%. And thanks so much for bringing that. And it's so true, right? I just gave one example of one area of my life. I don't talk about the other areas, but when I need rest, and I take the rest.
And it's okay to rest. That might be a habit that you need to implement. Maybe it's just rest, depending, because it's very biological.
Yeah, for me,
right? Maybe it's just rest.
When I need to rest, I rest. I don't business. Like, when I need to shut off, sometimes I just need a day to just shut down. If I need it, I take it. I don't, but I don't think about, I have to do this and this. And when I do take the time, for me personally, I have my structure. I know what works for me. I'm not the girl I used to be. So this has been seasoned with time. I'm seasoned with time. So, similar to you, Melissa, 100%, you take the time that you need, and recognizing your family is important. And I don't share a lot about what we do with our family because that's just, I don't, but taking time for family and listening and doing all of these things, that definitely 100% habit stacked, and seeing what has worked for us, what continues to work, and I'm thankful that you brought up that point, so that other people can remember as well that this can be implemented in every single area of your life. Do not be complacent and think that it's only this one area and I'm keeping it right here. I'm not going to move it, use it. No, remember, we're people. And so when we take one thing, that one thing applies in everything. So if you tell the truth in one area, eventually you start telling the truth in all areas, right? If you lie in one thing, you start lying in all these other areas. And it always starts off really, really small, really tiny micro things. But then it starts growing and growing. So anyways, thank you so very, very much for being here. Please follow Melissa DeCastro. She's on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, follow her. You will see her workouts every morning with her 50-pound weights. You're like, how is she lifting this? Like, what? You'll see her doing 5 minutes holding core movements. Sometimes she just takes pictures. Sometimes she's recording. You hear her talking about her workout, running on her Peloton. Um, and as well as sharing incredible information with you. So connect with Melissa on IG, follow
Mhm.
her along, ask questions, as well as connect with her. Connect with her so you can know how you can start habit stacking in your daily lives, how you can do this. Don't wait for tomorrow, next year, next week and say, oh, I remember this episode. I remember this. Where was it? Right? You're wasting time. Don't waste time. Save this episode, share it with a friend, get on Instagram, follow Melissa De Castro. Just type in her name and then start connecting. Download her free resources. Yes, Melissa?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it
Yes.
this time. Thank
Yes,
you.
you are so welcome. So have an incredible week, everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on another episode of B2B Live. Bye.